if you just turned 40, or you're close to it, and you typed some version of "How much do I need to invest monthly to retire" into Google at 11 p.m. This video is going to give you the actual number, not a vague range, not "it depends" as a cop-out answer, a real number based on your starting point that you can act on tomorrow morning. Because here's the thing nobody tells you up front. The monthly number is almost never as scary as people assume. And it's almost never as small as people hope either. It's somewhere in between, and exactly where depends on a handful of things we're going to walk through together, using real math and real people, not vague advice. The common belief goes like this: retirement math is built for 25-year-olds. You've seen the charts. Invest $200 a month, starting at 25, and you'll have $1 million by 65. Great. Inspiring. Also completely useless to you right now, because you're not 25, and no amount of wishing changes that. So the belief that follows is that if that chart doesn't apply to you, you basically have to figure this out yourself. And the number is probably some depressing 5-figure-a-month fantasy that isn't realistic on a real income. That belief is why so many people in their 40s avoid opening the calculator at all. It feels safer not to know. Here's the contrarian take. You don't need a magic number pulled from a headline. You need 3 pieces of information, and once you have them, the math basically does itself. What you actually want your retirement income to look like, how many years you have until you need it, and what you've already got working for you, even if that's 0 right now. Most people skip straight to how much per month without ever answering those 3 questions first. That's why the number feels impossible. It's not impossible, it's just incomplete math dressed up as a scary mystery, and we're going to take the mystery out of it. Let's start with the real math, using historical average stock market returns of around 7% annually after inflation. That's the standard, fairly conservative long-term average used by most retirement planning models, and it accounts for the fact that markets go up and down along the way. If you're 40, have $0 saved, and invest $1,000 a month until 65, that's 25 years of contributing, at a 7% average annual return, you end up with approximately $811,000. Cut that in half to $500 a month, and you land around $406,000. Half again, $250 a month, roughly $203,000. Notice something important there. The relationship is almost perfectly linear. Double the monthly investment, roughly double the outcome. That's actually good news, and that's something we can work with. Because it means you can scale this to whatever your real budget allows, instead of chasing one right number that might not fit your life at all. Now, if you're already thinking, great, but I don't know if $800,000 is even enough for me to retire on, hang on, we're getting there. That number by itself is meaningless without knowing what it needs to produce for you every single month once you stop working. That's coming up in a few minutes, and it's actually the most important part of this video. But before we get to that, let's ask a harder question. What if the market doesn't average 7% for you? What if you retire right into a downturn, the way plenty of people did in 2008 or 2022? This is where a lot of retirement content gets dishonest, so let's not skip it. Run the same $1,000 a month for 25 years, but at a more conservative 5% average annual return instead of 7%, and your ending balance drops from $811,000 to approximately $575,000. That's a meaningful difference, and it's exactly why financial planners tell you not to bet your entire plan on a single optimistic return assumption. The honest way to plan is to calculate your number using something closer to 6%, treat 7 as a pleasant possibility, and treat anything above that as a bonus, not a plan. Let's make this real with an actual person. Sarah is 40. She's a nurse, brings home about $4,800 a month after tax, has 0 retirement savings, and like a lot of people, assumed she'd figure it out later. Later arrived, and she still hadn't figured it out, which is what brought her to this exact kind of video. After her fixed costs, rent, car payment, groceries, the everyday stuff, Sarah has about $650 a month she could realistically redirect toward investing without blowing up her life or moving somewhere cheaper. At $650 a month for 25 years at that same 7% average return, Sarah ends up with approximately $527,000 by 65. At the more conservative 5% return we just talked about, that number drops to roughly $373,000 instead. Two very different outcomes from the same monthly habit, depending on what the market actually does, which is exactly why the withdrawal math matters more than the growth assumption. Using the standard 4% safe withdrawal guideline, a commonly used rule of thumb for how much you can pull from a retirement account annually without running out of money over a typical 30-year retirement, that $527,000 supports roughly $21,000 a year, or about $1,750 a month, on top of whatever Social Security provides. That's not nothing. Combined with an estimated Social Security benefit, Sarah is looking at a modest but real retirement. Not lavish, but not catastrophic either. And that's before she does anything to increase her contribution rate, which is worth talking about, because Sarah isn't done. Here's what happens if Sarah gets a 3% raise every year for the next 10 years, and puts half of each raise toward her investing instead of her lifestyle. Her monthly contribution slowly climbs from $650 to over $850 by year 10, then holds steady. That single habit, just directing half of future raises toward investing instead of all of it toward spending, adds close to $60,000 to her final balance without ever feeling like a sacrifice in any single month. Here's the part that actually matters more than almost anything else in this entire video. Timeline moves the number harder than your income, harder than your investment choices, harder than almost any other variable you control. $500 a month starting at 40, over 25 years, lands at $406,000. The exact same $500 a month starting at 45 instead, just 5 years later, only 20 years left to grow, drops to $266,000. Starting at 50 instead of 40, same monthly amount, drops all the way to $164,000. 5 years costs you roughly a third of your final balance. 10 years costs you more than half. That's not a guilt trip, and it's not meant to make anyone feel behind. It's just the math of compound growth. And it's exactly why the "I'll start when I have more money" plan is usually the most expensive plan available to anyone, because the years you wait are the years compounding needed the most. If you're sitting there thinking, okay, but I literally do not have an extra $500 a month right now, that's fair, and it's incredibly common. So let's talk about what the math looks like when you start smaller and build up, because that's how most late starters actually do this in real life, not with a lump sum, but with momentum. Marcus is 42, he's self-employed, income varies month to month depending on the season, and he's got about $8,000 already sitting in an old 401k from a job he left years ago, untouched, not really invested in anything aggressive, mostly just forgotten about. Marcus starts small, at $200 a month, because that's what he can commit to reliably even in a slow month, and he plans to increase that contribution by $50 every year as his income grows, which for a self-employed person is a realistic and flexible target, rather than a fixed obligation. With that existing $8,000 compounding, alongside a contribution that climbs from $200 a month up to over $1,000 a month by his early 60s, Marcus ends up in a very different place than a flat $200 a month projection would ever suggest. Closer to somewhere between $390,000 and $420,000 by 65, depending on exactly how consistently those yearly increases happen and what the market does along the way. The lesson from Marcus isn't start big, it's that a modest start that grows steadily beats a big start that never actually happens, which statistically is what happens to most people who wait around for the right amount before starting at all. Marcus started with less than half of what Sarah started with, and ended up in a comparable range, purely because he committed to increasing it over time instead of waiting for permission. Now let's look at someone whose story looks a little different, because not everyone starting late is starting at 40. David is 50, 10 years further along than Sarah and Marcus, and he's got about $45,000 already saved from an old employer retirement account he mostly ignored for years. David can commit to $800 a month, which sounds aggressive, but he's got fewer years left for it to grow, only 15 years until 65, instead of 25. At $800 a month for 15 years, at that same 7% average return, combined with his existing $45,000 head start compounding on its own, David ends up with approximately $355,000 by 65. Compare that to Sarah, who's investing less per month but has 10 more years for it to work. This is the clearest illustration of why timeline dominates the math. David is contributing more than Sarah every single month and still ends up with a smaller balance, purely because he has fewer years for compounding to do its work. That's not a reason for David to give up. It's a reason for David to consider working 2 or 3 years past 65, or accepting a slightly higher monthly contribution, or adjusting his retirement income expectations. All 3 levers are available to him, and probably to you too. So here's how you actually calculate your number. Not Sarah's number, not Marcus's number, not David's number, yours. Start by taking your current monthly expenses and estimating what percentage of that you'll actually need in retirement. Most planners use somewhere around 70 to 80% of pre-retirement spending as a starting estimate, since some costs typically drop once you stop working. Things like commuting, work clothes, and if you're lucky, a mortgage that's already paid off by then. After that, subtract your estimated Social Security benefit from that target. You can get a real personalized estimate directly at ssa.gov using your actual earnings record, not a guess pulled from an article, which matters because that number varies a lot person to person. What's left over is your monthly gap, the part your investments actually need to cover on their own. Using that same 4% withdrawal guideline in reverse, multiply your annual gap by 25, and you get your target balance, the number your account actually needs to reach by retirement. From there, you already know the monthly contribution required to hit that number by your target age, using the same growth math we've used throughout this entire video. A target balance of $300,000 over 25 years works out to roughly $370 a month. A target of $500,000 over that same 25 years works out to roughly $615 a month. A target of $700,000 works out to roughly $860 a month. Find where your own target balance lands, and that's your real number, not a headline number, not somebody else's number. This is the actual exercise, not a guess pulled from a headline, your specific gap, reverse engineered into your specific monthly contribution using your specific timeline. And if your number comes out higher than you can currently contribute, and for a lot of people watching this, it will, that doesn't mean the plan fails. It means you have real levers available, not just one option. You can contribute more over time as your income grows, the way Sarah and Marcus both did. You can work a few years longer than you originally planned until that number fits your situation, the way David might. Or you can adjust what your retirement lifestyle actually needs to look like, since 70 to 80% of current spending is a starting estimate, not a law. Most people who actually hit their number end up pulling a little on all 3 levers at once, rather than relying entirely on just one. So here's what to actually do with all of this, starting this week, not someday. Go to ssa.gov and pull your actual Social Security estimate. It takes about 5 minutes, and it replaces a guess with a real number that changes everything downstream of it. Then run the 3-part calculation we just walked through, using your actual expenses from last month's bank statement, not a hypothetical budget you think you should be following. And finally, start with whatever monthly number you'll genuinely stick to, even if it's smaller than the ideal number the math points you toward. An automated $300 a month that survives 5 years in the real world beats a planned $700 a month that lasts 3 months and quietly stops the first time money gets tight. Sarah, Marcus, and David didn't start with the same income, the same savings, the same age, or the same monthly number, but they all started, and they all adjusted along the way as their situations changed. That's the variable that actually moved their outcomes, not perfection, not the perfect return. Timing and consistency after that. Now, knowing your number is one thing, actually investing it correctly is another matter entirely, and it's where a lot of late starters quietly lose years of progress without realizing it. In the next video, we're breaking down the 3 most common mistakes late starters make with their money, mistakes that quietly cancel out years of otherwise good saving habits. If you've already opened an account and started contributing, you're going to want to check this before you go any further.